They're in the kiln. Oh, I guess the letters got in the kiln. Sorry.
No.
Oh. Wait. I'll take one.
Well, Schmidt, maybe. I mean, are these guys here for this hour?
Yeah.
Oh, no, the bell didn't ring. Okay. Oh, here's the new computer. Whoa, look at this big honker thing they gave you.
I know, isn't it weird?
Yeah.
And we have to use a rubber band to help hold it together because there's no screw. You can screw it on. Of course, yes. The latest in technology held together by rubber bands. Yeah. Sure, I can write you that. No problem. Good morning, everybody. I'll be with you momentarily. Where are you headed to, Devon?
Let's go.
Sir. Hey, Bryn, or Lauren, maybe, would you go lift the lid on that mixer to turn it off, please? Thank you. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. I have to ask, in your first hour class, did your teacher struggle with their new computer?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, good. It wasn't just me. Okay, awesome. I fixed the bugs for your hour, though, so you're going to not even know anything was different. I hate these new computers, just FYI, for the record. Wow. I hate technology. I like to deal with mud. Technology and mud do not get along. They fight. I don't like it because things are different, and I have to learn new things. I'm sure I'll grow to love it, but right now I don't have a protector on it or anything. So as I'm typing, like clay is going inside the keys, and I feel really bad about that. Oh, the struggle of being a ceramics teacher. All right, today we're going to talk about next steps of your coiled vessel. That's what I introduced yesterday. That's what we're going to be moving on to the next steps of today. If you have old projects to work on, like the leaf bowl, or if you have glazing to do, I'm going to ask that you maybe put that on hold for the first half of class and get your coil project started. So you have a good, like several coils still by the end of the hour today. If you want to glaze for like last maybe 20 minutes of class or something like that, that would be awesome. But I do want to make sure that nobody's falling too far behind on this new project. So the steps for today, I'm going to put them up on the screen, and then actually I'm just going to demo right away. So gather around table 6, please, so I can show you close up what we're doing. People at home, come along for the ride. How do I pin myself? How do I turn the camera on? There we go. All right. So one nice thing about it, this is a lighter computer, so I guess that's a good thing. All right. So I've put out on all the tables examples of different pitchers and vases and mugs to kind of give you inspiration as you're working today. Get over here. Come on, get over here. Everybody over at tables 1, 2, and 3. Come closer. So those are there for your inspiration. Remember, for this project, you're building with coils. We're scoring, slipping, and melding. So you're not actually going to see the coils, but we're building with coils. You can see my face. We're building with coils because they're so versatile. You can make almost any shape with coils. And so that's what the kind of key takeaway is from this, is how to control the coils to make the kind of form you want to make. And the kind of form we're going to make is either going to be a set of mugs. So that would be 2 mugs. They don't have to match if you don't want them to. Or a vase, or a pitcher, like a lemonade pitcher that you would pour out of. This vessel that you create does need convex, so it slopes out, or concave planes. So you got to think about that as you're building today. You should be placing your coils either slightly to the outside or slightly to the inside of the previous layer to make those convex and concave curves. You're scoring, slipping, and melding. These objects will need handles, or at least a handle. So 1 handle for a mug, 1 handle for a pitcher, or if it's a vase, you can put 2 handles, big ones, small ones, decorative ones, non-functional ones. It's kind of up to you, but that'll be part of what you're graded on as well. And then we're actually going to end up using a little bit of color on these vases too, using a paintable colored slip. And I'll talk about that as we kind of finish up the sculpting process. Okay, so this is the piece that I started yesterday. This is going to be a mug. And if you think it looks a little bit big, yes, it's probably a little bit big for a mug. However, stoneware clay, when it goes through the bisque firing and then glazing process, it shrinks 20%. So the thing that you're making today isn't actually going to end up being that big. It's going to shrink 20%. So that's why I don't feel too badly about having such a big start for my mug, because I know it's going to get smaller. So I'm going to evaluate what stage this is in, and it feels really perfect. This feels leather hard. It was just in a bag. There was no extra moisture on it. It feels really nice and strong. It's going to hold its shape. That's perfect. That's what I want. If you open up your bag today and it feels like your clay is really, really, really dry, that's a problem, and you're probably going to need to start over. Luckily, you didn't get that far yesterday, and you can start over really fairly quickly. If you open up your bag today and it feels really soft and plasticky, just let it sit out for a couple minutes. Put it in front of a fan, put it in front of a hairdryer. The sun is out temporarily. You can put it out in the sun. But we want to try and firm it up a little bit, because as you add each layer, if the layers you're adding it to are really plastic, they're just going to go like this under the weight of those new coils. So you want them to be nice and strong, so they're a firm foundation for what goes on top. So now I'm just going to continue rolling coils today. I'm kind of, again, trying to make them the thickness of my index finger. I have my fork handy. I have my slip handy. And you're really going to be like a little 3D printer today. You're going to be rolling a bunch of coils, stacking them, and melding, and then rolling another coil and stacking and melding. So you'll get better at this process as you go along. Now, oh my gosh, look at how perfect that was. Lined up perfectly. It's almost as though I've done this before. So, so that coil kind of was right on top of my previous layer. I want this coil to start going inward. And here's a really, really important tip for you. If you're making a mug especially, and you're making it go out, so it has a little bit of a belly, Don't wait too long to start making it come back in, because the more you go out and out and out, the longer it's going to take you to make it start to go in and in and in. And a mug should not be a bowl. It should not get wider and wider and wider and not narrower. So this layer that I just added was kind of right on top of my previous layer. And I'm doing my melding. I'm supporting my opposite side, so I'm not going to push these walls out. That's another mistake rookies make. We don't want to be rookie coilers. Don't just meld like this without any support on the outside. You got to provide that pushback on the outside. Otherwise, you're just going to push your walls further and further out. So I'm going to, again, provide some support on the inside now, and I'm melding downward. And it's not pretty. This meld that I'm doing is not pretty, but it is strong. And I don't care if it looks pretty at this point. We can always come back and make it look smooth and neat at a later time. All I'm concerned with today is making it strong. Okay, so that was my new layer, and now I'm going to pinch it inward. So I'm taking my fingers and I'm kind of squeezing inward to begin to make the body of my mug come in. Now, does anyone remember how tall I said your mug needed to be? 4 to 5 inches, right. And I've put a ruler on each table so you kind of can measure as you go and kind of get a sense of how far you have gotten. If I was doing a vase, a taller form, how tall did I say that needed to be? 8 to 10 inches. Yes, exactly. So really, whether you choose to do a mug or a vase, you're kind of doing a similar amount of work. So I'm going to get another coil on here, and then I'm going to check and see how tall it is. If you're making a mug, a good goal for today would be to get as close to 4 to 5 inches, like as close to finishing one of your mugs as possible. And if you're doing a vase, I would like you to try and get half your vase coiled today. So there's my next layer. I purposely, I don't know if you can tell that, but I purposely tried to place this to the inside of my previous layer. I'm going to support the inside as I'm melding downward. And again, it's not pretty, but it is strong. So I'm blending a portion of that coil downward. That's why you make the coil so thick, like the thickness of your index finger, because by the time you're done melding and then pinching, you do end up actually thinning it out quite a bit. So now it's going to become harder for me to meld this inside as it gets narrower and narrower, but that's okay. If I can kind of just do the best I can with my melding on the inside, as it gets narrower, you can just rely on melding the outside, and that's fine. Okay, so it is definitely starting to get more narrow now. Let me look. I'm sure it's not anywhere close to 4 to 5 inches. Well, actually, right here, that's 4 inches. So I would say maybe 2 to 3 more coils, and I'd be like to 5 inches. Here's a little trick for you as well. A very common problem that people have when they're rolling coils is that the coil won't stay round. It'll become an oval. So that actually could work to your advantage. Let me show you how. So let's say I'm rolling a coil, and this is kind of oval shaped right now. So I can actually kind of utilize that. I can actually like press it down to make it more purposefully an oval. And then when I score and slip, if I score and slip this skinny edge of the oval, it's kind of like adding 2 coils in one. So I'm adding this oval, and I'm making the tall side be adding more height to my form. So if your coil is kind of oval shaped and you think, oh, that's a terrible coil, it actually could be really advantageous. So I'm going to meld this tall coil on there, and I'm kind of now going to try and make it more straight up and down so that I have a nice neck on my mug. My lip is not even, so that's the thing I'm going to need to fix with my final coil. Okay, so I melded the outside. To the best of my ability, I'm going to meld the inside, again, providing that pushback from the outside of the form. And I'm kind of melding up because that's really like easier than melding down at this point. I'm going to pinch it to get a little bit more height. Every time you pinch, you get a little, maybe a centimeter more of height. Okay, and now let's see, look at my height. I am just not quite at 4 inches. So one more coil, and I'm going to account for this low spot because this low spot is kind of a problem. It's making my lip not very nice looking. So actually, before I do that final layer, I'm just going to score and slip a little coil in that low spot. I'm going to meld it in, and no one would even know that I did that. Just me. Right? I'm all about cheating as long as the cheats don't really hurt anything. They actually are helping you out. Okay, so now that's a better lip. One final coil, and this last coil on my mug, granted, if you were doing a vase, this would not be your last coil. For my final coil, I'm really going to try to make it as consistent as I can, because that's going to be what I see for the lip of my mug. So scoring and slipping, and I want to make sure that this is consistent all the way around. And maybe I'll make this last coil flare out a little bit, so as I'm drinking out of my mug, my coffee just flows so nicely outside of that mug. So I'm going to make this last coil just have a slight little convex curve outward. So somebody yesterday asked if you had to have convex and concave in your form. And I would like to see that. I would like to see that you can control the form getting wider and getting narrower, both of them in different spots on your form. And adding this little lip up at the top that flares outward is a great little way to meet that convex requirement. So I'm going to meld this final coil on the inside. Sometimes people forget, especially up at the top for some reason, to meld the inside. So don't forget about that. You can also use your fingers and meld by feel, even if you can't see it. Okay, so this final layer, I'm just going to do a gentle little pinch outward. It is still a little taller on one side. There's some low-lying spots, so I would add clay, or maybe I would shave the clay to take it away. We'll work more on refining once the clay is more firm. You'll notice I haven't used a sponge at any point. I don't want to overhydrate this clay because I'm going to have the problem of it not being able to support the new weight that I'm putting upon it. And so don't use a sponge today. Just use the wood knife, your fingers. You could use a steel scraper if you wanted to start making it look good, but that's a trick that we'll use another day. So try not to use any water if you can help it today. Okay, so that's pretty good mug shape. Handles will come later. And I look at my height, and that is 4.5 inches. I've met my height requirement for this mug. So then I would start my second one tomorrow. So whatever you accomplish for the day, whether you make a mug, whether you don't make your mug, whether you get half a vase, however far you get, snap a photo. That's what you're going to upload for your progress. Yeah.
For the one that you rolled that was pullable and you turned it on its side.
Yep.
Is that only recommended for toward the top, or can you do that at any point?
You can do that at any point.
Okay.
Yep, that's a good trick to help you build more quickly, actually. All right, so this would definitely go in a bag. Even though I'm done with the building of the height, I still have to refine it, and I still have to add a handle. So it has to stay leather hard. So bag it back up. And obviously, if you're working with a vase, definitely has to be bagged up too, because you got more coiling to do tomorrow. All right, any questions for the people in person? Okay, go ahead, get to work. I'm going to check in with people who are online. And people online, stick around. I got to wash my hands so I don't get any more clay on this beautiful, terrible technology. I'll be right back. Yep, that would be a great size for a mug. Absolutely. It'll be like 2 minutes. Thank you. Hi, people at home.